Kumlena Black Gemara. This is the Gemara of the fourth day of Chalamoid on Tuesday. You take chalakim. Now the question is, why should Bnei Slavchad or Tzlavchad get two chalakim at the time when his father died in the Midbar? It was only rows, a potential. You don't get double portion in a row. I'm going to be much more. The Yeseidos Olim. You know what it is? We're talking about the pegs of the tents. In other words, metaltlin. We're not talking about chalakim in Eretz Yisrael. That it didn't get a double portion. They didn't get a double portion because it was only a potential, and therefore the Bnei Slavchad or Tzlavchad did not get a double portion. When it says here that Bnei Slavchad got a double portion, are things that he had in his possession. For example, the pegs of their tents, and they always carried tents wherever they went. Masiv Rabba Yehuda, so Masiv Rabba as it says, Bnei Slavchad not with Dalach Chalakim, the daughter of Slavchad took for Chalakim. Shenemar it says Vayiplu Chavli Menashe Asara. It says that the Chavli Menashe fell Asara 10, and we said and we said 6 for the Bati Abbas and 4 for the Slavchad. So it's clearly that they got an extra portion of land. Chavli we said before is the land because they use ropes to measure it off, not the pegs of a tent. So why did they get to the land? It was only row. Eretz Yisrael muchzek must be because Eretz Yisrael is muchzik. That what? As soon as the Yetzer Mitzrayim left, it's as if they already received it. The Meisha asked a question. Rab Chitka said, Shimon Hashikimuni Hayelich. Rab Shimon Hashikimuni once said, Rab Chitka said, I had a friend. His name was Shimon Hashikimuni. Chavim mit Tamid Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 Tamid. We don't know really who they are. We know the 5 Talmidim Yimama says he picked up after the Homaisa. He went to Durham. But in Shas, we find a few names. So we had one, Minyamin Hamitzri, who was a student of Rabbi Akiva. That's one in Brachas we had, in Yivamas. And here we have another one, another name, Shimon Hashikuni. From the 24,000, we have very, very few names of his Talmidim. One of them was Shimon Hashikuni. And he said to me, Yodeya Hoya Moshe Rabbeinu. When the Bnei Slavcha came to Moshe Rabbeinu, reading the Chumash, it sounds like he had no idea what the laws of inheritance are. And it's only in the Chus of Bnei Slavcha that it all came out. So he said, of course Moshe Rabbeinu knew the laws. How did he know the laws? Interesting, according to the Rashi and Chumash, Sham Sam Chakal Mishpat, it says over there in Beshalach, by Mora. By May Mora there, it says that he gave them Chakal Mishpat, he gave them Chakal Mishpat, so Rashi says that he gave them Chukim and Mishpatim, and one of the dinim he gave them was the laws of the what do you call it? of Nachlas. Shabnei Slavcha Yoishes he didn't know that's what he didn't know. He knew the girl gets. He just didn't know does the girl step in the father's shoes to take also the b'chayr. He knows it completely takes over the father. Or is just like a pashut and does not get the extra part. Yeah. And another way we know is because their whole vart was from, remember the whole point of even if they did not hear, you don't follow that drush that they already heard it from the beginning, because that would be they heard it in the beginning of the 40 years. The laws of Yavama were given at the end of the 40 years. The whole story of Bnei Slavcha was right before they went to Yisrael, the end of the 40 years. But remember, the whole time of the girls are, if we don't count, then why can't our mother, then even if we had a daughter, the mother should have to marry her brother-in-law. So, but they knew the laws of Yavama because they just heard it. And they were so smart, I want to tell you that they were so smart, they figured out, well, if Yavama, a bas is considered a child, and so too when it comes to Yerusha. Not that they heard any dinim, they figured it out on their own. That's different ways of the Rishonim learn. The problem is, it sounds like, this is the problem, the Rishonim is very interesting, it sounds like if Bnei Slavcha would not have challenged Moshe Rabbeinu, we would never have known the dinim that of inheritance that the bas does get, doesn't get. We've never known. So how many other dinim don't we know because nobody challenged Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Gemara right by Varna said, you should know that it was part of the plan. It would have been Moshe if the Bnei Slavcha would not have come forward, Moshe Rabbeinu. So why did they able to wait until Bnei Slavcha came forward? I will soon see why. Also, when it comes to the Mekashis, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I don't know what to do. Which I didn't know what to do. Again, if he didn't know what to do, if it wouldn't have been for that story, then how many other didn't don't we know what to do? So no, of course he knew. He just didn't know what kind of misa. He did Moshe ben Hashem kosher misa. Never said mechalel moshumas. It says moshumas. Aval yedeh be'ezu misa yamos. We don't know which misa he should get. He knew that it's not data. He knew he get punished. Just didn't know which misa he gets. Tosha says, well, we know that every time it says in the Torah misa, it means chedek. So why did he have a suffix? So Tosha says over here, and this is what brings the sichos always, that mechil Shabbos is just like avodah zarah, and that's what his quandary. Because the word misa itself normally means chenek, so maybe he gets chenek, strangulation, which is the lowest form of capital punishment. On the other hand, mechil Shabbos is the strictest avera we have. It's equal to avodah zarah, and therefore he should get punished skila. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was in doubt. Which one should it be? So he says it. So truth to be told, we should have known about it before. The Mekoshish was guilty, and therefore it was written because on account of that. We generally try to be exclusive to those who are righteous and slaves against those who are guilty. That's what it says. Now my question is, if Eretz Yisrael really is muchzekes, that means the people who left Mitzrayim already had it. So Micah Mestapkale. So what's the Moshe Rabbeinu's quandary? Of course there's a b'chayr there. You're saying Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know whether the Yash is the b'chayr. If Chefer actually owned the land already, and he passed it on to Slavchad, and Slavchad's a b'chayr, then obviously the girls get whatever their father gets, whatever they get. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu in doubt? That was his doubt. He goofed for Mr. Pakla. That's exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu's doubt was. Is Eretz Yisrael considered muchzekes because of the promise he said to them that right in the beginning of Shmos, he told the Eden, he told the Eden, we're leaving at Mitzrayim, I'm to give you the land. That means he gave it to them right as soon as they left Mitzrayim. Or the entire 40 years is called like you see in Mitzrayim only when you actually arrive in Eretz Yisrael. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's suffix. I'm giving to you as an inheritance. Now, Moirasha means to pass it on to somebody else. He doesn't say Nasati Lechem Yerusha. He said Nasati Lechem Moirasha. I'm giving it to you to pass it on to someone else, but it's Yerusha. Right? So that's the question. Yerusha Lechem, I was saying that he mean, even though he used the word Moirasha, he meant it's a Yerusha to you. But he meant is you're going to be the conduit. You're the Moirasha. You're going to pass the land on to your children, but not that it actually becomes yours. You're the pipeline that is going to pass it on to the children. So therefore, it's not yours. And the B'chai does not get double portion. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's suffix. So when did the Eden inherit Eretz Yisrael? As soon as they left Egypt, or only when they arrived in Eretz Yisrael? And the question really is, other Achreim learned, the whole 40 years in the Midbar, is that all part of Yitzias Mitzrayim? Or Yitzias Mitzrayim was one day? The day they left Mitzrayim. This is all a preparation to entering Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, they already got the land as soon as they left Mitzrayim. Or no, the whole process of going the 40 years in Midbar is part of Yitzias Mitzrayim until they actually enter Yisrael. And therefore, they don't have a chelik in the land until they come in. It's postulate Tavayu, and then he resolved it. Yerusha lachem ma'abeseichem, they're both right. It's a Yerusha, so Eretz Yisrael is muchzekes if they already got it. U'mayrishin, ve'einu yoshin. And they're Moirish, and they themselves don't have it. No, it's both. They're Yairish, and they pass it on as well. When you behind the sieve, it says in Pasuk. So in other words, you do get B'chayr. You do get B'chayr. A B'chayr will get double portion, so that's as if you have a Yerusha. But remember, it passes on to the children. We said before that you pass on no matter how children only if they go inside the soul do they get a chelik, so it's both. Right. According to one way, Klal Yisrael was seeing Oz Yasher, they said Tivi Einmai, V'tita Einmai, they will bring it in and plant it. Bahar Nachaloscha, Tivi Enu Loy Nemar. Doesn't say we will bring it in. Ella Tivi Einmai, it will be brought in. They didn't say we'll bring it in. They said this for Kriyas Yamsuf. There was no Meraglim yet. According to the plan, Achadas would have entered Eretz Yisrael. Everything would have been fine and good. Yet they sang to the Eimai, to Eimai, Melamed Shemisnabin, they had no idea what they were saying. If it was Klal Yisrael, they were saying the Vias, but had no idea what they're saying. Why? What they were saying is, we're not going to Yisrael, but our children are. But we're going to give it to them. But that's what Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what this. So according to this, they knew the laws of Nachla. And they knew that a girl gets before, if there's no boys, the girl gets it. What they didn't know is about this is a law of B'chayr when it comes to Yisrael. Okay, it says in the pasuk by Lutzin, like Shlavcha, that Hamoid, they stood before Moshe. They stood before Moshe. Rashi means in the Chumash before Elazar Kohen. V'lifnei Hanasim v'chol Eidah. Sounds like they asked, down the line. First they asked Moshe, he didn't know. They went to Elazar, he didn't know. They went to the Nasim. How can it be? After Amdu Moshe v'lo Amru lehem Dava v'Amdu Nasim v'chol Eidah. No, Moshe didn't know. They went to ask. It's impossible. Everything everyone else knew, they knew from Moshe Rabbeinu. Elosadas Hamikra with the Sheikh. Turn the pasuk around and dash. Divrei Rabbi Yeshua. In other words, it says Moshe's name first, Al's covered to Moshe Rabbeinu, but really they worked the other way around. No. They were all sitting there together. The whole Chavam Lefnei Kulam. They asked an open question to everybody. Obviously Moshe Rabbeinu, but they were all sitting there. But Moshe's name is first because Moshe Rabbeinu. Says what's the two opinions? What happened, according to the first opinion, they were all in the base of Medrash, but they didn't go. They made a beeline not to Moshe Rabbeinu. They made a beeline to the Eidah, then to the Nesiim, then to Lazar. And the question is: are you allowed to ask a question, or is a Talmud allowed to even try to answer in front of a Rav? Is it a chutzpah to go to the Talmud of the Rav? Ufaket. The Rav has such nachas that even his Talmidim are able to answer. It's all right to give cover to a Talmud because the Rav has Hanoah, my Talmud, and even my Talmud knows. But I don't understand. First time the loch is and the kasha. If you see that the Rav, the teacher gives covered and that a cheder to the student, the faket, ask the student because the teacher gets pride out of this. The Lloyd public Rav, because of that, if the teacher does not give any covered, don't then go ahead. It's in front of the teacher and ask questions. Tana, we learned. They were very wise. Darshan, you say they knew how to darshan. The trader, Tzidkani, you say they would Tzidkani is. Where do we see all that? Hachmani is saying, they knew exactly when to ask the question. What do you mean they knew exactly when to ask the question? They waited until they can prove to Moshe Rabbeinu their point. They waited till Moshe Rabbeinu told them the Hilchos Yibum. Once they heard Hilchos Yibum and they realized then that a bas is a child, so we're entitled to Yidush as well. And he was darshaning the laws of Yevamim. This is a right from the Ramban. The Ramban writes in the beginning of Parshas Devarim, a fascinating Ramban. There are a number of mitzvahs in Devarim that we don't have in the rest of the Torah. Kiseit says 72 mitzvahs. They're around the rest of the Torah. What does that mean? So the Ramban learns that there were a number of mitzvahs not given to the Yidden until the end of the 40 years. In fact, Ibn Ezra and others learned that Sukkot didn't start till the end of Israel because he says, Anani HaKavod, how can you, first of all, you have the real thing, but you have to have Sukkot. Second, you never were under the sky. You were not Yotzei Sukkah. According to some, there's no Pesach for 40 years except the first year when they brought the current Pesach, and then there's no Pesach at all, and so on. So the Ramban says that the laws of Moshe Yibum, because they were said in Parshas Kiseit, they didn't have it before, and so on. Here you see, that's what it says, that Moshe Rabbeinu, others say no. All the mitzvahs was given before, it's just written now in the Torah, but it was given from the beginning, from Har Sinai. Right, close the pratas. Moshe says, close the pratas never by Har Sinai. Here it says right here, but we know that this all happened at the end of the 40 years, and it says that Moshe Rabbeinu Yoshev v'Deilash v'Parshei V'Am at the end of the 40 years. Maybe I write for the month. So then it says, they sat together. Omru they said, Im kiben on the chashuvim. If we're like a son that's not all ben, then we're entitled to inheritance. And Iblav tisyaben imenu. And if we're not an heir, then they don't count. We're non-existent. So our mother should have to marry her brother-in-law. Yad immediately by Yaakov Moshe's mishpatim lifnei Hashem. The big nun, because this reached the chachma of the 50th level of Shara Chachma, which that Moshe Rabbeinu only got Har Nevoy Nun Boy when he passed away. And that's how deep this question was. And why is it so deep? Is because the Ramban writes in Parshas Vayetze with the story of Yehuda and Tamar. The Ramban says, what's going on here? This whole story, Yehuda, Tamar. What happened? The Ramban says Yesh Poisoid Goggle. And I can't tell you what it is. The Eilach Chaim HaKadosh in Vayigash, when it says the Shivim Nefesh, the 70 the Foshes that came into Mitzrayim, it counts there Yehuda's two sons and they died. So why they count? They didn't go to Mitzrayim. So the Eilach Chaim says, Yelusa Ramban without spelling out the Ramban, that in those days, before Matan Torah, there was existed already the concept of Yibum, but it was vertical, not just horizontal. It wasn't just brothers-in-law, it was just father. And he says the idea of Yibum is that a certain neshama had to come into this world, and it's only in this family that's able to bring it down. So the brother, or the father, bring this neshama down. So it's as if, since the Yehuda married Tamar, it's as if the two brothers who died were still alive because their neshamas, whatever, their neshama come back into this world through their brother or through their father. So Yibum is a very, the concept of Gilgul Neshama, which is only revealed by Kabbalah. Prior to that, we don't have anywhere concept of Gilgul Neshama. Even though in the end of my cotton, we have a Maida there who said, if I, after, going through the Yisudim of going to Eilam Haba, I don't want to come back down again. So there's a little bit of an illusion, they say, of the Gilgul Neshama, that idea of coming back down again. So that's why it's called Mishpat Nun Shari Bina, because this is a very deep idea. The Neshama is coming down. This is Kabbalah stuff. Okay, Dashon is saying what Dashon is saying is Eloi ben Loi Debanu. They said if there would have been a son, we wouldn't have said anything. In other words, you wouldn't have asked any questions. But Gemara says about Tanu, no, the Brais Bas. If they said there wouldn't have been a daughter, we wouldn't have said anything. Amar Abiyim, the son become Bas. Doesn't make sense. They were the daughters. What do you mean there would have been a daughter? What does it mean there would have been a daughter? There were nice love over there. Abayam, what he meant was Afila Hayabas Leben like the Barnu. If our father had a son and then he died, but he left behind even a daughter, we wouldn't say anything. We understand the lineage of paternal. But now that it wasn't, we have time. Said Kani same women Sadekson, Nisu Elalahagan Lehen. That's amazing. The whole idea of Yerusha came from Bnei Slavchad. And we worried about the transfer of property from one Shevet to another Shevet. And Dafke B'nai Slavchad were told they can marry anybody they want. They don't have to marry their own Shevet. It's the rest of Menashe that have to stick to their own Shevet. As we'll see in 1 minute. Amazing. Tony, Rabbi Lezer, and Yaakov, and yet they're the ones who triggered this whole thing. Tony, Rabbi Yaakov, I feel like Tana Shebehen, even the youngest, Loinisas, Chusama Boyin, she didn't marry less than 40 years old. What's the mile of that? The mile is they were waiting to find a tzaddik. They were waiting to find an appropriate shidduch, and they didn't care if you have to wait. Older people saying, "Oh, you're so old already, you're an ultimate." No, they waited until they found the right shidduch. None of them married before they were 40 years old. Said him, if you're 40 years old, you can't have any children. What's the point? If you marry under 20 years old, so you're very fertile, you can have birth till 60. Bas Esim, if you're over 20 and you married, like today, you're a boy, more or less 40. Bas Aboim, if you're chatchila, no, you didn't try, you were until 40. Shul any lettuce. You're not fertile and you can't give birth at all. So what's the point of waiting to get married until 40? So what Gemara was asking, so you don't find the biggest tzaddik in the world, but you have mitzvah prudavu, even though a woman doesn't have mitzvah, but still, what's the point? Ella metoich shetzidkani is saying, because they were tzidkani saying they knew, and they had such confidence and emunah that they should make them have children. Naslem nes ki yechevet, a nes happened to them like yechevet, and they didn't mind waiting because they wanted to have a good zivug. The Chsivet said, "What's yechevet?" A person when Bas Levi doesn't mention Amra's name, and you married a Bas Levi. Efshe Bas Mevish Leishan Shana v'Karla Bas. How can you be? She was 130 years old. When Rashi gives the whole cheshbon there, Bam does it here. How you know that it was 130 years old? Because she was Bas Levi and so on and so forth, and yet she was able to have children. So why is she counted? Because she was not born yet when they went to Mitzrayim. But the Bein HaChemish, she was only 69 if you count the name. She was born Bein HaChemish, and therefore she's born in Mitzrayim. The Eden were 210 years in Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old when he took Eden out of Mitzrayim. So if you take off 210, 80 is 130. So we know she was 130 years old. She was conceived before she went to Mitzrayim. When he was born, she was born in Mitzrayim. But my currently Bas, Why is she called the daughter? Why didn't she call? She's a woman of 100 years old. By then, she's a woman. She's no longer a girl. She became young again. Nis adein habasar, nis pashtu akmatim, all the folds on folded, and she became young. The chazer hayim came. She became young again in beauty as well. If you know the famous Eben Ezra in Chumash, where he actually hard to understand, but we know that Rashi sometimes Pshut Shamikra might be different than the Gemara because he said and the Rashbam, his grandson, goes even further. If you see the Rashbam in Chumash, he says, "I'm here only to Mefarish Pshat," even though the Pshat might be different, contrary to the Gemara. It's Pshat, but they never mock the Gemara or argue the Gemara. They don't even mention the Gemara. They just tell you what Pshat is. There is a Rashbam, the famous Rashbam, that if you look in all the Chumashim, say it's not there anymore. But if you look at a very old Chumashim, where it says Vahi Erev Vahi Voike Yom Echad, the Rashbam says Erev means day and Voike and Vahi Voike means night, and Shabbos should be day followed by night, the other way around. Up to Pshutei Shemikra, famous Rashbam. However, the Eben Ezra in Chumash says it can't be that this is true. Sarah was definitely not 130 years old. Because if so, why do we make such a big deal? Sorry, not Sarah, Yocheved. Why do we make such a big deal about Sarah that at the age of 90 she was able to have children? Yocheved was 130, and nobody, the Torah doesn't even allude to this. And that's, he says it can't be that this Maimon Chazal can't be. Like tax it. Everyone else says the Gemara already answered. The Torah did say it, Bas. By the Torah calling a Bas, the Torah said that she was a Bas. Others say, what's the big deal? She gave birth to Moshe 130. She gave birth to Aaron, which is 127. She gave birth to Miriam, which was 124. Because Miriam was 6 years old. And so, what's the difference? Once you're that age and you're able to have kids, what happened? And interesting. So 124, she gave birth, no problem. 127, she gave birth, no problem. And then suddenly, 127, everything fell apart. Amnon said, so why did Amnon leave her? They couldn't have kids anyway. I'll be Teva. Amnon left her because he said, and then Miriam said, your Gzeid is worse than Pare. Then that's what it seems to Amnon, yeah. Or the whole thing's Al Piteva. And Amnon was scared he'll have more children, and you don't want to bring any more children to this world. And okay, so because they were separated, then Al Piteva, she lost her fertility and all that. This is talking about Amram Yecheved. Why say Vayikach? It just said Vayachze. He took her back. And we know that Amram says Amram is going to do it. I'm going to read the Malamich Osla Meisel. More lines. We'll finish this thing here. Osla Meisel Kuchin. Now what happened? That he went ahead and he made a big ceremony. Hayshiva Baparian, even though she was 130 and they were married before, and who knows how long they were married for. But he took her back and he decided after Miriam enticed him. He decided to tell the whole world. So what he did was Hayshiva Baparian, put him in his chariot. The Aaron Miriam and the sons came to the chuppah. There's a whole discussion when someone gets married a second time. Should the children be there? They all use this as a proof that the children should be at least by the chuppah. The children came. And the malachim said, Aim habonim smecha, that the mother of the children is happy. Who's the mother? Yocheved. And the children was Aaron and Miriam. They were the children. There's a famous word in the rules, Aim habonim smecha. Okay, so the bonim, who is Aim habonim? Here we say Yocheved. So they say Aim habonim smecha, and the bonim are also happy, not just the mother. The Banim were happy. What's the Banim happy? It's that Aim always rescued the Eden every time the Eden were in Tzara. Aim is Aaron and Moshe. They were Mitzrayim, took them out. Aim is by Purim, it was Esther and Mordechai. And Aim is this long Golus, Eliyahu and Mashiach will take us out. Aim Habbanu, make the children happy. Okay, we'll stop over here.